Commander Hyunwoo stared at the stars through the large window of Kepler Station. The view never got old. Thousands of bright points of light scattered across the black space like diamonds on dark cloth. He had been working on this station for 5 years now, and every day brought something new to discover. The station was huge. It floated in the outer edge of the Tau Ceti system, far from any planets. Its job was simple but important. Watch for new ships coming from unknown parts of space. 3 different species worked together here. They all got along well, which was not always easy. Hyunwoo was human-like, but not human. His people were called Althari. They had crystal-clear skin that sparkled in the light. Next to him stood Da-un, who was also Althari but worked as the chief science officer. She was very smart and could read the computer screens faster than anyone else on the station. The third species was the Velden. They looked like tall frogs but were much smarter. They had wet skin and big eyes that could see many colors humans could not see. Taemin was one of them. He worked in communications and could speak 17 different languages without using a computer to help him. The last species was the Nexari. They looked like large insects, but were very friendly. They had 4 arms and could work on many things at the same time. Their leader on the station was Boram, but she was visiting another station this week. It was a quiet day on Kepler Station. The morning shift had just started. Most of the crew was drinking their morning drinks and checking the night reports. Nothing unusual had happened during the night watch. The same old signals from nearby stars. The same old space dust floating by. The same old peaceful emptiness of deep space. Hyunwoo liked quiet days. They meant everyone was safe. No emergency calls, no strange ships trying to cause trouble, no alien diseases or dangerous space rocks heading toward populated planets. Just the normal, boring work of watching space and recording what they saw. Da-un was working at her station when something made her stop. She looked at her screen more carefully. Then she looked again. Her crystal skin started to glow brighter, which happened when Althari got excited or worried. "Commander," she said in her musical voice, "I think you should see this." Hyunwoo walked over to her workstation. The screen showed a map of nearby space with colored dots showing different energy readings. Most of the dots were small and dim, but there was one dot that was different. It was much brighter than the others, and it was moving. "What am I looking at?" Hyunwoo asked. "A ship," Da-un said. "But not like any ship in our records. Look at these energy readings." She pointed to numbers on the side of the screen. Hyunwoo read them twice before he understood what he was seeing. The numbers were huge, much bigger than any ship he had ever seen. "That cannot be right," he said. "Check the sensors again." Da-yun pressed several buttons and ran the scan again. The numbers came back the same. Actually, they were even bigger now because the ship was getting closer. "Where is it coming from?" Hyunwoo asked. Da-yun checked another screen. "The Sol system. But we do not have any records of that system having intelligent life. Our scouts checked it 50 years ago and found nothing but a few planets with no technology." Hyunwoo felt a cold feeling in his stomach. If a ship this big was coming from a system they thought was empty, it meant they had made a big mistake. Or something had changed in the Sol system very quickly. "How big is this ship?" he asked. Da-yun worked on her computer for a minute. When she looked up, her face was worried. "Based on the energy output, it must be at least 50 kilometers long. Maybe bigger." Hyunwoo stared at her. The biggest ships he knew about were only 5 kilometers long. Those were the huge cargo, ships that carried supplies between star systems. A 50-kilometer ship was not just big, it was impossible. "Get Taemin," he said. "We need to try talking to them." Da-un pressed a button on her desk. A moment later, Taemin came running into the room. His big eyes were wide with curiosity. "What is happening?" Taemin asked. His voice was deep and wet, like someone talking underwater. "We have a visitor," Hyunwoo said. "A very big visitor. We need you to try making contact." Taemin looked at the screen showing the approaching ship. His skin changed from green to pale yellow, which meant he was surprised. "That energy signature is enormous," he said. "What kind of beings build something like that?" "That is what we need to find out," Hyunwoo said. "Try the standard first contact protocols." Taemin sat down at his communication station. He pressed several buttons and began speaking into his microphone. Unknown vessel, this is Kepler Station of the Tri-Species Alliance. We welcome you to our space. Please respond on any frequency. We wish to establish peaceful communication. He repeated the message in 16 other languages. Then he sent mathematical signals that any intelligent species should understand. Prime numbers. The value of pi. Simple addition and subtraction. They waited for 10 minutes. No response. Try again, Hyun-woo said. Taemin sent the messages again. Still no answer. Maybe their communication systems are different from ours, Dae-yoon suggested. Or maybe they do not want to talk, Hyun-woo said quietly. The three of them watched the screen as the energy signature got bigger and bigger. The ship was definitely getting closer, and it was definitely huge. How long until it reaches us? Hyun-woo asked. Dae-yoon checked her calculations. At its current speed, about 6 hours. Send a message to Fleet Command, Hyun-woo ordered. Tell them we have an unknown vessel approaching, very large. No response to communication attempts. Taemin began typing the message. His four-fingered hands moved quickly across the keyboard. I suggest they send backup? Taemin asked. Hyun-woo thought about it. If this was a friendly ship, calling for military help might make the wrong impression. But if it was not friendly, they would need all the help they could get. Yes, he said finally. Request immediate assistance from any ships in the area. As Taemin sent the message, Hyun-woo looked out the window again. The stars looked the same as always, peaceful and quiet. But somewhere out there, something huge was coming their way. Something that might change everything they thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. Commander, Da-won said suddenly, the energy readings just jumped again, much higher than before. What does that mean? Either the ship is accelerating or... She paused and checked her numbers again. Or it is even bigger than we thought. Hyun-woo felt that cold feeling in his stomach get worse. He had been in charge of first contact situations before. Usually they were exciting but peaceful. Ships from known species coming to trade or explore. Scientists wanting to study something in their system. Diplomats traveling between alliance worlds. This felt different. This felt dangerous. Keep trying to contact them, he told Taemin. And keep monitoring, he told Dae-yoon. I want to know everything about this ship before it gets here. What if they do not answer? Taemin asked. Then we will have to decide what to do when they arrive, Hyun-woo said, and hope we make the right choice. Outside the window, the stars continued to shine peacefully, but somewhere among them, something was coming. Something big enough to change the future of 3 entire species, and it was only 6 hours away. Admiral Bo-ram was in the middle of her morning meal when the emergency message arrived. She was on Nexari Prime, the home world of her species, attending a boring meeting about trade routes. The red light on her communication device started, flashing, which meant only one thing. Something very bad was happening. She pressed the button with one of her 4 hands while continuing to eat with another. Nexari were good at doing many things at once. Admiral Bo-ram here, she said. Admiral, this is Fleet Command. We have an emergency situation at Kepler Station. Unknown vessel approaching, very large. No response to communications. Bo-ram stopped eating. She had been in the military for 30 years and had never heard anyone at Fleet Command sound scared. But the voice on the other end definitely sounded scared. How large? She asked. Energy readings suggest at least 50 kilometers in length, possibly much larger. Bo-ram's 4 eyes went wide. She had seen the biggest ships in the known galaxy. The Althari crystal carriers were 15 kilometers long. The Velden deep space explorers were 20 kilometers. Even the ancient Nexari colony ships, built hundreds of years ago, were only 30 kilometers. Where is it coming from? Sol system. We had no records of advanced life there. Send me all the data, Bo-ram ordered. I am coming to Fleet Command immediately. She stood up from the table, all 4 arms moving to gather her equipment. The other Nexari at the meeting looked at her with concern. Emergency calls during peaceful times usually meant war was coming. Is everything all right? Asked Kyung-ho, an Althari minister who was visiting for the trade talks. I do not know yet, Bo-ram said honestly, but something very unusual is happening. 20 minutes later, Bo-ram was in her ship flying toward Fleet Command. Kyung-ho had insisted on coming with her. As a defense minister for the Althari government, he said it was his job to know about any threats to the Alliance. While they flew through space, Bo-Ram read the reports from Kepler Station. The numbers made no sense. No species in the known galaxy could build something that big. The energy output alone would require the power of a small star. "This must be a mistake," Kyung-ho said, reading over her shoulder. His crystal skin was glowing bright blue, which meant he was very worried. 3 different sensor sweeps all show the same thing, Bo-Ram replied. "Either it is real, or something is very wrong with our sensors. What if it is a natural phenomenon, an asteroid with unusual metals? Asteroids do not move in straight lines toward space stations." They reached Fleet Command in 2 hours. The building was buzzing with activity. Officers from all 3 species were running around, checking computers and making phone calls. Bo-Ram had not seen this much excitement since the Korax pirate raids. 10 years ago, Fleet Admiral Wanbin of Velden met them at the entrance. His skin was pale green, which meant he was stressed. "Admiral Bo-Ram, Minister Kyung-ho, thank you for coming so quickly," he said. "What is the current situation?" Bo-Ram asked. "We sent Captain Min Seo with the scout ship Swift Arrow to get visual confirmation. She should be in sensor range of the unknown vessel within the hour. Any new communications from Kepler Station?" Still no response from the unknown ship. "Our people there are getting nervous." They walked into the main command center. Huge screens showed maps of the local star systems. One screen showed the path of the unknown ship. It was moving steadily toward Kepler Station at a speed that was fast, but not threatening. If they wanted to attack, they could move much faster. "Maybe they are explorers like us," Kyung-ho suggested. "Just from a species that builds very large ships. Or maybe they need large ships because they are very large themselves," Wanbin said. "We should be prepared for anything." Bo-Ram studied the numbers again. Something bothered her about the energy readings. They were not just big, they were organized. The power output had patterns that suggested advanced technology, not just brute force. "Have our scientists analyzed these energy patterns?" she asked. "Yes," Wanbin replied. "They say the technology is unlike anything we have seen. Very advanced, very efficient, possibly hundreds of years ahead of us." That made Bo-Ram's stomach feel cold. If these unknown aliens were that much more advanced, the 3-species alliance would be helpless against them. All their ships and weapons would be like toys. "Admiral," a communications officer called out. "We are receiving a transmission from Captain Min Seo." "Put it on the main screen," Wanbin ordered. The screen flickered and showed the bridge of the scout ship Swift. Arrow Captain Min Seo appeared in the center. She was Velden like Wanbin, but younger. Her skin was completely white, which meant she was either very scared or very excited. "Fleet Command, this is Captain Min Seo reporting from coordinates 347.8 by 229.1, she said. Her voice was shaking slightly. "We read you, Captain. What is your status?" "I am at the edge of visual range of the unknown vessel." "Fleet Command, you are not going to believe this." "Report, Captain." Min Seo took a deep breath. "The unknown vessel is not a ship. It is a city. A flying city made of metal. I count at least 50 levels visible on the outside. There are structures that look like buildings, massive gun batteries that could destroy a planet, hangar bays big enough to hold our largest ships." Everyone in the command center went silent. Bo-Ram felt her hearts skip a beat. Nexari had 2 hearts, and both of them were beating very fast now. "How big is it exactly?" Wanbin asked. "My computer estimates 200 kilometers long, 50 kilometers wide, and 30 kilometers tall. But sir, that is just the main body. There are smaller sections attached that are each bigger than our largest ships." 200 kilometers. Bo-Ram had to sit down. The biggest city on Nexari Prime was only 100 kilometers across, and it took millions of people to build it over centuries. "Captain, any sign of weapons being charged or defensive systems activating?" Bo-Ram asked. "Negative, Admiral. It is just moving slowly toward Kepler Station. But sir, I can see lights inside it. Thousands of lights. There are definitely people alive in there." "How many people do you think it could hold?" Kyung-ho asked. Min Seo was quiet for a moment as she did calculations. "Based on the size and visible structures, maybe 10 million. Maybe more. 10 million. That was more people than lived on some entire planets. Boram realized they were not just dealing with a big ship. They were dealing with an entire civilization that could move between stars. Captain, maintain your distance and continue observing, Wanbin ordered. Do not approach any closer without direct orders. Understood, sir. Swift arrow out. The screen went dark. The command center was very quiet for a long time. Finally, Boram spoke. We need to evacuate Kepler Station, she said. What? Kyung-ho asked. If these aliens are hostile, Kepler Station cannot defend itself against something that size. We need to get our people out of there. But if we evacuate, it will look like we are afraid, Wanbin pointed out. We should be afraid, Boram said. Any species that can build a flying city has technology we cannot fight against. What if they are peaceful? Kyung-ho asked. Then we will apologize later, Boram replied. But if they are not peaceful, our people will be dead. Wanbin thought about it for a moment. Then he nodded. Send the evacuation order to Kepler Station. All non-essential personnel are to leave immediately. What about the essential personnel? Kyung-ho asked. They stay and try to make contact, Boram said. Someone has to be there when that thing arrives. We need to know what they want. As the evacuation order went out, Boram looked at the screen, showing the path of the unknown vessel. In 4 hours, it would reach Kepler Station. In 4 hours, they would find out if the galaxy was about to change forever. She just hoped they would all still be alive to see what happened next. Captain Dong-hyun stood on the bridge of the massive Earth vessel called Titan's Wrath. Around him, hundreds of crew members worked at their stations. The bridge was enormous, bigger than a football field, because the ship itself was so huge. It needed a large crew to run it. Dong-hyun was tired. They had been traveling for 6 months to reach this star system, Earth's first journey to another star with intelligent life. The mission was simple: make contact with the aliens, learn about them, and establish peaceful relations. The ship carried Earth's best diplomats, scientists, and, unfortunately, soldiers. Humanity had learned from its violent history that it was better to be prepared for trouble, even when hoping for peace. Captain, called out Navigator Yoon-ji from her station, we are approaching the outer edge of the Tau Ceti system. Sensors are picking up artificial structures. Put it on the main screen, Dong-hyun ordered. The huge screen at the front of the bridge showed a view of space ahead. In the distance, they could see a small, bright object that was clearly not natural. It had straight lines and regular shapes that only intelligent beings could make. That must be the monitoring station our long-range sensors detected, said Science Officer Seok-jin. It appears to be inhabited. Any response to our communications? Dong-hyun asked. Communications Officer Hye-jin shook her head. We have been broadcasting mathematical sequences and peaceful greetings for the past hour. No reply on any frequency. Dong-hyun frowned. First contact protocols said aliens might use different communication methods, but mathematics was supposed to be universal. Any intelligent species should understand prime numbers or simple geometry. Maybe they are studying our signals first, suggested Chief Diplomat So Young. She was the leader of the civilian mission, team. They might want to understand our language before responding. Or maybe they see us as a threat, said Admiral Jae Sung, the military commander. A ship this size would be intimidating to any species. Dong-hyun knew Jae Sung was probably right. Titan's Wrath was the largest ship ever built by humans. It was designed to carry everything Earth might need for long-distance space exploration. Laboratories, factories, farms, homes for 10,000 people, and enough weapons to protect itself from any danger. To humans, it was a miracle of engineering. To aliens seeing it for the first time, it probably looked like a weapon of war. How close are we to the station? Dong-hyun asked. 2 hours at current speed, Yoon-ji replied. Slow us down. I want to approach very carefully. We do not want to seem aggressive. Yes, sir. The ship began to slow down. Titan's Wrath was so large that even small course changes took time. The engines had to fire for several minutes just to reduce their speed slightly. On the alien station, things were getting very tense. Commander Hyun-woo watched as most of his crew left on evacuation ships. Only 25 people remained on Kepler Station. Just enough to keep the systems running and attempt first contact. Commander, called Da-eun from her station. The alien vessel has slowed down. It is now approaching at a much slower speed. That is good, Hyun-woo said. Maybe they are trying to be careful too. Taemin was still sending messages to the approaching ship. Unknown vessel, this is Kepler Station. We wish to establish peaceful contact. Please respond if you can understand this message. They had been trying for hours with no success. The ship kept coming closer, but it never answered their calls. Sir, said Junho, one of the few Nexari who had stayed behind. What if they cannot hear us? What if their communication systems are completely different from ours? Then we will have to try something else when they arrive, Hyun-woo said. Meanwhile, in space between the station and Titan's Wrath, the Alliance defense fleet was getting into position. Admiral Boram had ordered every available ship to the Tau Ceti system. 200 vessels of different sizes and types were now spread out in a defensive formation. The fleet looked impressive to the aliens, ships from 3 different species working together. But to the humans approaching, it looked like they were flying into a trap. Captain, Admiral Jae-sung said quietly, we have a problem. What kind of problem? Sensors are detecting approximately 200 ships moving into position around us. They appear to be military vessels. Dong-hyun felt his stomach drop. This was exactly what they had hoped to avoid. Instead of a peaceful first contact, they were flying into what looked like an ambush. Are their weapons powered up? He asked. Scanning. Now, said Tactical Officer Chan-woo. Most ships show normal power levels, but several larger vessels are charging their weapon systems. On the flagship of the alien fleet, Admiral Boram was having the same conversation. Admiral, reported, her tactical officer Woo Jin. The unknown vessel is approaching our formation. Still no response to communications. What about their weapons? Boram asked. That is the strange part, sir. Our sensors can detect what appear to be weapon systems, but they are unlike anything we have ever seen. The energy signatures are enormous. General Siwoo, a Velden military advisor, looked at the sensor readings. If these numbers are correct, their smallest weapons are more powerful than our largest ship cannons. That cannot be right, Boram said. Check the sensors again. Already done, sir. 3 times. The readings are consistent. Boram felt afraid. If the alien ship had weapons that powerful, her entire fleet would be helpless against it. But she could not retreat now. Too much was at stake. On Titan's Wrath, the mood was getting tense as well. Captain Dong-hyun called a meeting of his senior. Officers, recommendations? He asked. We should retreat, said Diplomat So-young. This situation is too dangerous. We should go back to Earth and send a smaller, less threatening ship. We cannot retreat now, Admiral Jae-sung disagreed. If we run away, they will think we are weak. They might follow us back to Earth. What? If we try a different approach? Suggested Science Officer Seok-jin. We could send a small shuttle with a peaceful delegation. Show them we are not all military. And if they destroy the shuttle? Jae-sung asked. Then we will know they are hostile, Dong-hyun said. But at least we will have tried the peaceful option first. The debate continued for several minutes. Outside, the alien fleet was getting closer. Soon they would be close enough that any mistake could start a war. Captain, Communications Officer Hye-jin interrupted. I am detecting new transmissions from the alien vessels. Multiple frequencies. It sounds like they are trying to coordinate something. Battle coordination? Jae-sung asked. Possibly. Or it could be diplomatic coordination. Hard to tell without understanding their language. Dong-hyun made a decision. Prepare a small diplomatic shuttle. Volunteers only. We will send it toward the space station with a message of peace. Sir, Jae-sung said carefully, if this goes wrong, we will be responsible for starting the first war between humans and aliens. And if we do nothing, we might start a war anyway, Dong-hyun replied. At least this way, we tried to be peaceful. As the crew prepared the diplomatic shuttle, both sides watched each other carefully. The aliens saw the massive human ship as a potential threat that needed to be stopped. The humans saw the alien fleet as a hostile force, trying to prevent peaceful contact. Neither side understood what the other was thinking. Neither side realized how close they were to a disaster that would change both their civilizations forever. Tut, small shuttle launched from Titan's Wrath and began moving slowly toward Kepler Station. On board were 3 volunteers, a diplomat, a scientist, and a translator. They carried gifts from Earth and messages of peace in 17 different formats. But as the shuttle approached, alien sensors detected it and automatically classified it as a potential weapon. Warning alarms started ringing on ships throughout the fleet. The first shots of an interstellar war were only minutes away. The small shuttle from Titan's Wrath moved slowly through space toward Kepler Station. Inside, diplomat Ga-un checked her equipment one more time. She had spent months preparing for this moment, the first meeting between humans and aliens. "How are we doing, Sang-min?" she asked the pilot. "All systems normal," Sang-min replied. "The alien station is responding to our approach. They are sending some kind of guidance signals." "That is good," said Dr. Mi-young, the team scientist. "It means they want to communicate." But on the alien ships surrounding them, the mood was very different. Captain Yu Jin of the Velden cruiser Storm Chaser watched his sensor screen with growing worry. The small craft from the massive alien ship was heading directly for Kepler Station. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the small vessel is accelerating. It could be a missile." Yujin felt his skin turn pale yellow with fear. If the aliens were sending a weapon disguised as a peaceful craft, Kepler Station would be destroyed before they could stop it. "All ships, this is Storm Chaser," he broadcast on the fleet channel. "Unknown craft may be hostile. Prepare to intercept." On the flagship, Admiral Boram heard the warning and felt her two hearts racing. She had hoped the small craft was a peaceful gesture, but Yujin was right to be careful. "Admiral," called her sensor operator, "the small craft is definitely accelerating toward the station. If it is a weapon, we have less than 10 minutes to stop it." Boram faced an impossible choice. If she ordered an attack on the small craft and it was actually peaceful, she would start a war. But if she did nothing and it was a weapon, hundreds of innocent people on Kepler Station would die. "Target the small craft," she ordered reluctantly, "but do not fire unless I give the command." Throughout the alien fleet, weapon systems powered up. Targeting computers locked onto the small human shuttle. Warning lights flashed on dozens of ships as crews prepared for battle. On Titan's Wrath, the bridge crew watched in horror as enemy ships began targeting their diplomatic shuttle. "Captain," Tactical Officer Chan Wu reported, "multiple alien vessels are locking weapons onto our shuttle. Energy signatures are spiking across their fleet." Captain Dong Hyun felt a cold wave of fear. "Are they going to attack our diplomats?" "It looks that way, sir," Chan Wu said grimly. Admiral Jae Sung stepped forward. "Captain, we cannot let them destroy a peaceful diplomatic mission. That would be an act of war. But if we raise our shields, they might think we are preparing to attack," Dong Hyun pointed out. "Sir," interrupted Communications Officer Hyejin, "I am detecting multiple emergency transmissions from the alien fleet. They sound agitated, Genyor Fi. You understand anything?" "Not the words, but the tone suggests they are preparing for combat." Dong Hyun realized the situation was spinning out of control. Somehow their peaceful approach was being seen as hostile, but he could not let the aliens destroy his diplomatic team. "Raise defensive shields," he ordered. "Minimum power only, just enough to protect the ship." "Yes, sir." The moment Titan's Wrath's shields activated, every alarm in the alien fleet started screaming. The massive ship's defensive systems were so powerful that even at minimum power they registered as an enormous threat. "Admiral!" the tactical officer on Boram's ship shouted. "The alien vessel just activated shields. Power levels are off the charts." Boram stared at her sensors in disbelief. The energy readings from the human ship's shields were higher than the total power output of her entire fleet. "How is that possible?" she asked. "Unknown, sir. But if those are just their defensive systems, their weapons must be incredibly powerful." General Saiwu looked at the numbers and felt sick. "Admiral, if they attack us, we will all be dead in seconds. Then we have to attack first," Boram said, though she hated the words as soon as she spoke them. "Sir, are you ordering an attack?" Boram hesitated. Starting a war was the last thing she wanted to do. But if she waited for the aliens to attack, none of her people would survive. On Kepler Station, Commander Hyunwoo watched the situation developing with growing panic. Both sides were preparing for battle, and his small station was right in the middle. "Commander!" Da-un called out. "Both fleets are powering up weapons. This is going to be a massacre." "Can we do anything to stop it?" Hyun-woo asked. I do not think so, Taemin said sadly. No one is listening to our communications anymore. The human shuttle was now only 5 minutes away from the station. On board, the three humans had no idea that hundreds of alien ships were about to open fire on them. This is exciting, Doctor. Mi-young said, looking out the window at the alien vessels. So many different ship designs. Each species must have its own engineering philosophy. I just hope they are friendly, Diplomat Ga-eun said nervously. There seem to be a lot of them. Pilot Sang-min checked his instruments. Station approach in 4 minutes. They are still sending guidance signals, so I think we are welcome. But at that moment, everything went wrong. On the Velden ship Storm Chaser, a power surge caused by the emergency preparations damaged the weapons console. Sparks flew from the control panel, and Tactical Officer Nae-eun instinctively pressed the emergency firing button to prevent an overload. A single plasma bolt shot out from Storm Chaser toward the human shuttle. It was only meant to be a warning. Shot. Fired into empty space to discharge the overloaded system. But to the humans, it looked like an unprovoked attack. Incoming fire! Sang-min shouted as his sensors detected the plasma bolt. He threw the shuttle into evasive maneuvers, but the bolt was not aimed at them anyway. It flew past and struck a small asteroid several thousand kilometers away. They are shooting at us! Dr. Mi-young screamed. Get us out of here! Diplomat Ga-eun ordered. The shuttle turned around and began racing back toward Titan's wrath at maximum speed. On the human ship, the bridge erupted in anger and fear. They fired on our diplomatic mission, Admiral Jae-sung shouted. That is an act of war. Captain, the shuttle is returning under fire, Chan-woo reported. Multiple alien ships are powering up weapons. Captain Dong-hyun felt everything he had hoped for crashing down around him. The peaceful first contact had become a disaster. Now he had to decide whether to fight or run. Sir, Admiral Jae-sung said urgently, we need to respond. If we let them attack our people without consequences, they will think humans are weak. But if we attack back, we start a war between our entire species, Dong-hyun pointed out. The war has already started, Jae-sung replied. They fired first. On the alien flagship, Admiral Boram saw the human shuttle racing back to the massive ship and assumed the worst. They were gathering intelligence, General Saiwoo said angrily. The small craft was studying our defenses before they attack. All ships, Boram broadcast reluctantly, prepare for battle. Target the alien vessel's weapon systems. If we can disable their weapons, maybe we can force them to surrender. Throughout both fleets, crews prepared for the first battle between humans and aliens. Weapons charged to full power. Shields strengthened to maximum levels. Emergency teams prepared for casualties. Captain Dong-hyun stared at the tactical display showing the alien fleet surrounding his ship. 200 vessels against 1. But Titan's wrath was designed to fight entire fleets if necessary. Earth's engineers had built it to survive anything the galaxy could throw at them. Captain, Communications Officer Hae-jin said desperately, I am still receiving transmissions from the space station. They are trying to tell us something. Can you understand it? Not the words, but the tone sounds like they are begging us to stop. Dong-hyun realized that not all the aliens wanted this fight. The people on the station were caught in the middle, just like his own crew. But it might be too late to prevent the battle. Sir, Admiral Jae-sung said quietly. Orders? Dong-hyun looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Young people who had volunteered to explore the galaxy and make friends with aliens. Now they might have to fight and die instead. Charge weapons, he said finally. But do not target their ships. If we have to show our strength, we will do it without killing anyone. Yes, sir. As Titan's Wrath's weapons powered up, every sensor in the alien fleet went crazy. The energy readings were beyond anything they had ever imagined. If the aliens fired those weapons, it would not be a battle. It would be the complete destruction of the Alliance fleet. The moment of first contact had become the moment when two civilizations stood on the edge of mutual annihilation, and neither side understood how badly they had misread the other's intentions. The first shot that changed everything came from Ensign Yu Jin aboard the Velden cruiser Storm Chaser. His weapons console was still sparking from the power surge, and smoke was filling the air around his station. Emergency lights flashed red as he tried to shut down the overloaded systems. Ensign Yu-jin, report! Captain Minjai shouted over the alarms. Sir, the plasma conduits are overheating. Yu-jin called back, frantically pressing buttons. I need to discharge the system before it explodes. Do it quickly! Yu-jin's hands were shaking as he tried to safely release the built-up energy. The console was too hot to touch properly, and sparks kept flying into his eyes. In his panic, he accidentally pressed the wrong button. Instead of discharging the energy into space, he fired a plasma bolt directly at the massive human ship. Bolt was small by weapon standards, just enough energy to clear the overloaded system. To the Velden crew, it was barely noticeable. But to the humans watching on Titan's Wrath, it looked like the opening shot of an attack. Incoming fire, Tactical Officer Chan Wu shouted. Direct hit on forward shields. The plasma bolt struck Titan's Wrath's defensive shields and disappeared like a raindrop hitting a mountain. The ship's shields did not even flicker. But Captain Dong Hyun felt his heart stop. Damage report, he ordered. No damage, sir, Chan Wu replied. Their weapon was too weak to penetrate our shields. But the fact that they had fired at all meant the situation had crossed a line. Admiral Jae Sung stepped forward with a grim expression. Captain, they have fired on us without provocation. We must respond. Sir, Communications Officer Hyejin interrupted desperately. I am still receiving signals from that space station. They sound like they are trying to stop this. Dong Hyun looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was spread out around his ship, weapons charged and ready. If this turned into a real battle, thousands of people would die on both sides. We need to show them we are not helpless, Admiral Jae Sung said quietly. But we do not want to start a war. What do you suggest? A warning shot, something that shows our capability without actually harming anyone. Dong Hyun thought quickly. If he fired at one of their ships, even as a warning, they might think it was a real attack. But if he fired into empty space, they might not understand the message. Target the asteroid field, coordinates 445.7 by 892.3, he ordered. Single railgun round, minimum charge. Sir, even minimum charge will completely destroy any asteroid in that field, Chan Wu warned. That is the point, Dong Hyun said. They need to understand what they are dealing with. On the alien flagship, Admiral Bo-Ram watched her sensors as the massive human ship began targeting something. Her tactical officer was studying the readings with confusion. Admiral, they are not targeting any of our ships, he reported. What are they targeting? The asteroid field in Sector 7. But why would they waste ammunition on rocks? Bo-Ram felt a cold feeling in her stomach. Maybe it is not a waste. Maybe it is a demonstration. The railgun on Titan's Wrath fired. Railguns were simple weapons in concept. They used magnetic fields to accelerate a small piece of metal to incredible speeds. The round that left Titan's Wrath was only the size of a pencil, but it was moving at nearly 1/10 the speed of light. To the alien sensors, the projectile appeared for one instant and then vanished. It moved so fast that their tracking systems could not follow it. For a moment, everyone thought the humans had missed their target completely. Then the asteroid exploded. The rock was only about 50 meters across, small by asteroid standards. But when the railgun round hit it, the kinetic energy was enormous. The asteroid did not just break apart. It vaporized instantly in a flash of light brighter than a small sun. The explosion was visible from thousands of kilometers away. Alien crews throughout the fleet stared at their screens in shock as debris from the destroyed asteroid scattered in all directions. By the ancient crystals, whispered Admiral Bo-Ram. What kind of weapon was that? Her tactical officer was studying the sensor readings with trembling hands. Admiral, based on the energy release, that projectile carried more force than our largest ship-killer missiles. And that was just a warning shot, General Saiwu said quietly. On Captain Yu-jin's ship, the crew that had accidentally started this confrontation watched in horror as the asteroid disappeared. Captain, Ensign Yu-jin said in a shaking voice, if that round had hit us instead of the asteroid, we would all be dead, Captain Minjae finished grimly, along with everyone on the ships around us. Throughout the alien fleet, the same realization was spreading. The humans had weapons that could destroy entire ships with a single shot, and they had just demonstrated this power without actually killing anyone. On Kepler Station, Commander, Hyun-woo watched the explosion through the station's telescopes. Da-eun was checking and rechecking her sensor readings. "Commander," she said in amazement, "the energy released by that weapon was equivalent to a small nuclear explosion, but the projectile itself was tiny." "How is that possible?" "Speed, science," Officer Tae-min answered. "They fired something very small, very fast. The kinetic energy at that velocity would be incredible." Hyun-woo realized that if the humans wanted to destroy Kepler Station, they could do it as easily as they had destroyed the asteroid. The fact that they had not done so meant they were trying to communicate, not make war. "Keep broadcasting peaceful messages," he ordered. "Both sides need to calm down before this gets worse." On Titan's Wrath, Captain Dong-hyun watched the alien fleet's reaction to his demonstration. Throughout their formation, ships were powering down weapons and backing away to safer distances. "Sir," Chan-woo reported, "the alien vessels are reducing their weapons charges. Most are moving to defensive positions." "That is good, Admiral," Jae-sung said. "They understand the message." "Sir," Communications Officer Hae-jin called out excitedly, "I am receiving new transmissions from multiple ships in the alien fleet. The tone has changed completely. They sound like they are trying to surrender." "Surrender?" Dong-hyun asked. "Or negotiate?" Chief Diplomat So Young suggested. "Maybe they realize this does not have to be a fight." Dong-hyun felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. The warning shot had worked. Instead of starting a war, it had shocked both sides into realizing how dangerous the situation had become. "Broadcast on all frequencies," he ordered. "We come in peace. We do not wish to fight. We want to talk." Hae-jin began sending the message in every format she could think of. Mathematical sequences, simple pictures, even music. Anything that might communicate peaceful intentions. On Admiral Boram's flagship, the translation teams were working frantically to understand the human transmissions. "Admiral," called communications specialist Yong-ho, "we are receiving multiple signals from the human vessel. They appear to be peaceful in nature." "Are you sure?" "The mathematical sequences include concepts like cooperation and friendship. There are also what appear to be artistic transmissions, music and images." Boram felt a mixture of relief and embarrassment. The humans were not invaders. They were explorers, just like the Alliance species had been centuries ago. But their technology was so advanced that their peaceful approach had seemed threatening. "Send a response," she ordered. "Basic mathematical friendship sequences. Let them know we do not want to fight either." As messages began flowing back and forth between the human ship and the alien fleet, the immediate crisis passed. Ships on both sides powered down their weapons and moved to safe distances. But the demonstration of human firepower had changed everything. Every alien in the fleet now knew they were dealing with a species that could destroy them all if they chose to. The fact that the humans had not done so was the only reason any of them were still alive. On Kepler Station, Commander Hyun-woo finally allowed himself to breathe normally again. The shooting had stopped, and both sides were trying to communicate. Maybe first contact would not be a complete disaster after all. But as he watched the massive human ship on his screens, he could not forget the image of that asteroid vanishing in a flash of light. Whatever these humans were like, they were the most powerful beings anyone in the galaxy had ever encountered. The question now was whether that power would be used for peace or war. 3 days after the asteroid explosion that nearly started an interstellar war, Captain Dong-hyun stood in the main conference room of Titan's Wrath. The room had been hastily modified to accommodate visitors from 3 different alien species. Special chairs for the insect-like Nexari, water pools for the amphibious Velden, and crystal resonance platforms for the Althari. Dr. Hae-won, the ship's chief linguist, had worked without sleep for 2 days to establish basic communication with the aliens. Her translation computer was finally beginning to understand simple concepts in their languages. "Captain," Hae-won said excitedly, "I think we have enough vocabulary now for basic conversations. The aliens use mathematical concepts as a foundation for communication, just like we theorized." "How much can we understand?" Dong-hyun asked. "Simple ideas. Peace, friendship, curiosity, fear. Enough to explain that we are not here to hurt anyone." The door to the conference room opened, and Chief Diplomat So Young entered with their first alien visitors. 3 beings walked carefully into the room, looking around with obvious nervousness. The first was Commander Hyunwoo from Kepler Station. His crystal skin was glowing a soft blue color, which the translation computer indicated meant cautious curiosity. Behind him came Admiral Boram, the Nexari fleet commander, her forearms moving nervously as she examined the human technology. Last was General Siwoo, a Veldan whose skin kept changing colors as his emotions shifted. "Welcome aboard Titan's Wrath," Captain Dong-hyun said slowly, allowing the translation computer time to convert his words. "We are honored to meet you." The aliens listened to the translated message, then Hyunwoo responded in his musical language. The computer worked for a moment, then displayed the translation. "We are grateful you did not destroy us when you had the chance." Dong-hyun felt sad hearing those words. "We would never attack peaceful explorers," he said. "We came here hoping to make friends, not enemies." Boram spoke next, her insect-like voice creating clicking sounds that the computer struggled to translate. "Your weapons are very powerful. We were afraid you came to conquer our worlds." "We understand your fear," So-young said gently. "Our ship is large and heavily armed because we did not know what we might find in space. Humans have learned to be prepared for danger." General Siwoo's skin shifted to a pale green color as he asked, "Are all human ships this size?" "No," Dong-hyun laughed. "This is our largest ship. Most human vessels are much smaller. We built this one specifically for long-distance exploration." Over the next several hours, the two sides shared basic information about their civilizations. The aliens were amazed to learn that humans had built Titan's Wrath in just 5 years, while similar projects in the Alliance took decades to complete. Dr. Jun-ho, the ship's cultural specialist, explained human history to the fascinated aliens. "My species has fought many wars," he said honestly. "We learned that being strong helps keep peace better than being weak." "But you did not attack us when we surrounded your ship," Hyunwoo pointed out. "Because we saw that you were trying to communicate," So-young replied. "Violence should always be the last choice, not the first." Admiral Boram asked many questions about human technology. She was particularly interested in their weapons and shields. "How do you generate so much power?" she asked. Chief Engineer Mi Young showed them diagrams of human fusion reactors. "We use the same process that powers stars," she explained. "Very dangerous, but very efficient." The aliens were impressed, but also worried. "With such technology, humans could rule the entire galaxy," General Siwoo said nervously. "We do not want to rule anyone," Captain Dong-hyun assured him. "We want to explore and learn. There is enough space in the galaxy for everyone." On the second day of meetings, the conversations became more detailed. The aliens explained their three-species alliance and how they had maintained peace for over 200 years. "We share technology and resources," Boram explained. "Each species has different strengths. Together, we are stronger than we could be alone." "That sounds wonderful," So-young said. "Humans would be honored to join such an alliance if you would have us." The aliens looked at each other uncertainly. Hyunwoo spoke carefully. "Humans are very powerful. We would be afraid that you might take control of the alliance." "We understand your concern," Dong-hyun said. "What if we started with smaller cooperation? Trade missions, scientific exchanges, cultural visits?" "That might work," General Siwoo agreed. "We could learn to trust each other gradually." Dr. Haewon had an idea. "What if we established a joint research station? Humans and alliance species working together on peaceful projects?" The aliens found this suggestion very interesting. They spent hours discussing the possibilities. On the third day, they reached an agreement. Humans would help expand Kepler Station into a joint research facility. Alliance scientists would study human technology, while human researchers learned about alien cultures and discoveries. "This could be the beginning of something amazing," Boram said, her forearms moving in what humans learned was a gesture of excitement. "A new age of cooperation," Hyunwoo agreed, his crystal skin glowing bright white with happiness. As the formal meetings ended, Captain Dong-hyun stood at the observation deck with his new alien friends. Through the large windows, they could see Titan's Wrath docked next to the expanded Kepler station. Ships from all 4 species moved peacefully between the two structures. "I was so afraid when we first detected your ship," Hyunwoo admitted. "You seemed like invaders from our nightmares." And we were terrified when you surrounded us with warships, Dong-hyun replied. We thought you were going to attack before. We could explain our peaceful intentions. It is strange, General Siwoo observed. We almost started a war because we were both trying to be careful. Fear makes us do stupid things, Bo-ram agreed. But courage helps us find better solutions. Dr. So-young looked out at the busy space around the station. This is what first contact should look like, she said. People from different worlds working together, sharing knowledge, building friendship. The galaxy is a big place, Captain, Dong-hyun said. There is room for all of us to grow and explore together. 6 months later, the Joint Research Station had become a symbol of cooperation throughout known space. Human engineers worked alongside Althari crystal specialists to develop new technologies. Veldan biologists and human doctors found cures for diseases that had plagued both species. Nexari mathematicians and human physicists made discoveries about the nature of space and time. Titan's Wrath remained docked at the station, serving as both a research facility and a symbol of protection. Its powerful weapons were never used. Again, but their presence reminded everyone that the Alliance could defend itself against any threat. More human ships began arriving from Earth, each one smaller and more peaceful than the last. Exploration vessels, science ships, and trading craft. The galaxy was opening up to humanity, and humanity was sharing its knowledge freely. Commander Hyun-woo, now the director of the Joint Station, often stood at the same observation window, where he had first seen the approaching human ship. Instead of fear, he felt excitement when he saw new vessels arriving. Each one brought new opportunities for discovery and friendship. The misunderstanding that had nearly led to war had instead become the foundation for the greatest period of peace and progress the galaxy had ever seen. 4 species, working together, reaching for the stars, and in the distance, beyond the busy space around the station, the galaxy waited. Full of wonders yet to be discovered, problems yet to be solved, and friendships yet to be made. The age of cooperation had begun, and the future looked brighter than anyone had dared to imagine.